me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a peasant, and the peasant was walking down the road to town. But he got lost. He turned left instead of right, and soon he found himself in a big, sandy desert. Now, it's not good to be lost in a desert, but it's really not good to be lost in a desert in the middle of a sandstorm. And unfortunately for this peasant, a great wind was blowing from the east, and this wind whipped up all of the sand and all of the dirt and everything else into the air around him. Well, the peasant continued walking, and finally the sandstorm stopped, and the peasant, he found the road again. However, the peasant felt different. Suddenly, he was really smart and really wise. He could understand the world much more clearly than before. He had much more knowledge inside his head. Well, the peasant kept walking, but soon he became tired. So he sat down by the side of the road and he took off his sandals. And suddenly he felt different again. He didn't feel so wise and smart anymore. He couldn't understand the world so clearly. He didn't have so much knowledge in his head. Well, then the peasant got up again. He put on his sandals and he continued walking. And suddenly he felt different. He was wise and smart again. Well, this was very, very strange. And the peasant thought, it must be my sandals, because when I put on my sandals, I am wise and smart. But when I take them off, I am not. Well, what do you think? Do you think the sandals were making the peasant wise and smart? Well, actually, no. It wasn't the sandals. You see, in that big sandstorm in the desert, there was lots of sand and dirt in the air. But in the air, there was also a leaf. And this leaf came from the tree of knowledge. And this leaf was stuck to the bottom of the peasant's sandal. That's why he was so wise and smart. Well, the peasant, he continued walking and he came to the town. But in the town, he saw that everyone was sad. Nobody was happy. Many people were crying because in that town was the king. And the king's daughter was very, very sick. Of course, the king, he had called all of his wisest and smartest doctors, but none of them could help his daughter. And now his daughter was dying. Well, the peasant, he was also wise and smart now, and he thought that he could heal the king's daughter. And so he went to the king and said, my king, I can heal your daughter. Let me try. Well, the king looked at the peasant. A peasant? What could a peasant do? But the king had no other choice, so he said, okay, fine. Please try to save her. And so the peasant began to treat the king's daughter. He used his wisdom and knowledge to choose the best medicines. And after a few hours, the king's daughter woke up. And after a few days, the king's daughter was completely healed. The king was so happy with the peasant. He gave him a big bag of gold. But the king was also confused. How could the peasant do this? And so he asked his doctors. He said, "Doctors, how did this peasant heal my daughter? Did he use wisdom and knowledge? Or did he use magic? Or was he just lucky? What happened?" Well, his doctors told him that the peasant had used wisdom and knowledge, and the peasant's knowledge of medicine had saved his daughter's life. And so the king, he went to the peasant and he said, "Peasant, how are you so wise and knowledgeable? You're a peasant. You didn't go to school. You have no education." And the peasant said, "My king, it's because of my sandals." "Your sandals? What are you talking about, your sandals?" "Yes, my king, my sandals. When I put on my sandals, I am wise and smart. But when I take them off, I am not. It's my sandals." Well, the king now, he was very interested in these sandals. He wanted to be wise and smart. And he said, "Peasant, I want to buy your sandals." Well, the peasant wasn't sure. The sandals were very useful. "No, peasant, I must have these sandals. I will pay you half of my kingdom. I will give you half of my kingdom for the sandals." Well, half of the kingdom. This was a good price. So the peasant agreed. And he took off his sandals and he gave the sandals to the king. Now, of course, the sandals were dirty. And the king can't wear dirty sandals. So he got his servants to clean the sandals. And so they cleaned them. First, they cleaned all of the sand. Then they cleaned away all of the dirt. And then they took away a leaf stuck to the bottom of the sandals. You remember this leaf, of course. This leaf was from the tree of knowledge. And so, in the end, when the king put on his new, expensive sandals, he didn't become any more wiser or any more smarter.